Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. In this video, I'll be going through my AFL fantasy team reveal for round 18, going through the major trades, as it feels like I'm almost, in a way, treading a little bit of water, but I feel like I've finally sort of got my team back on track. Yes, I do still have two rookies on field. We're heading into round 18 with two rookies on field, as well as two mid-prices, but my team does feel, at least in the defense and in the forward line, a lot stronger than most. It's just the midfield that I've sort of been putting bits and pieces into for this whole year, and probably will for the whole rest of the year, but we'll just see how that goes. But anyway, let's jump into this video. So as you can see, the screen's a lot better. Fix that up. But yeah, so this team, these are the trades I'm doing at the moment. Getting in Zach Merritt, I think he's going to play midfield for the rest of the year with Caldwell out. He pretty much has to, in my opinion. So I think he's going to be a guy that you can basically just slot straight in there. Playing Richmond, so it's probably going to be a potential, is this a potential VC candidate game? 7:35 on the Saturday night. That could be a potential VC candidate game, and then just go into Port Adelaide on the Sunday, which would mean I'd need Harry Boyd not to play. I'd also have potentially West Coast. I could use Tom Gross there, actually. I could use Gross and through him play McRae if Gross isn't going to play. Simpson would require the... Simpson is an 8-10 start, so can't use him. Camporelli would have already played Boxall. He could also not be playing, and that could help us out. But if he, and that would also help out with the loop potential, I believe. Yes, it would actually help out with the loop potential through Ralston, so we'll look at that one as well. And then you've got Leak as well, and he plays beforehand, but he could also just be playing outright, so you can't potentially use that as well. So it basically would be Gross or Boyd that I'd have to use if I wanted to go down the Butters route. For the captaincy, we'll look through the others in a second. But yeah, I just think that Zach Merritt is a guy that when he actually plays on ball, if we go to DFS, and I'll show you what I mean by this, and I'll use a mountain of evidence here, because the mountain of evidence was there last time when we picked him up in about 10 rounds ago or so, and then we dropped him for the last couple weeks. I don't remember exactly when we decided to ship him off. I would say, was it round 16 that we decided to ship him off? Yeah, round 16 we decided to ship him off, and since then, in two rounds, in the two rounds that we shipped him off, he had the bye and then has gone 145. So he's actually, so we just made what we thought was a mistake, and then suddenly, because of an injury, he comes back and is now could have just held him through that time and would have been a lot better off. But anyway, it is what it is. But if we go to Zach Merritt, and I was thinking about bringing in Errol, but I think that Zach Merritt, if we just go here, midfield time here, no midfield time there, midfield time here, midfield time here, midfield time here, and all through this. So this year, when he's playing on ball, he averages 111 basically when he's playing over 50% CBAs. If you wanted to include the 48s, it goes down to 104. But yeah, he's still averaging quite a lot. If we look at what he's averaging in general for the year, he's averaging 102. So you can see the bump up there. If we go to last year as well, and just look at this, even through tags, if we're just looking at this in general, you can see that over the last couple of years, he's just played exclusively on ball and is averaging in the last couple of years 110 from 34 games. And if you take out, and those are with the that's with one of the 48 still in there percentage wise, if you take out that, if you even increase it to 60%, which is sort of what I see him being at, then that takes out another game, I believe. And so he averages 111.7 if you take out all of that in 32 games. That record is undeniable, and I think he's the guy that you should target. Nick Martin, GWS are hard. That could actually be a really hard run home, but he is a forward at the end of the day that's probably going to score really well. So a guy that I should be potentially targeting just because he's got this really juicy matchup. Luke Jackson has the Hawthorn matchup, which will be difficult, and I'll be definitely targeting Luke Jackson in round like 2021, somewhere around there, and that could potentially be a as an upgrade on like a Sam Darcy or something like that. We'll just check his matchups. He actually has the Eagles in round 23, so probably just going to hold on to him for the rest of the year. But you can see sort of the thinking behind it is really trying to attack those West Coast alongside the West Coast alongside Richmond games, which is basically this week Butters, Rosie, alongside Merritt and Martin. I think those 4 are going to be the big scorers this week, and I do have access to all 4 of them now, so I think that's really critical. If we look just quickly at who West Coast have coming up, they've got Richmond next week. That kind of is defunct, annoying. So then we look at who do North Melbourne have, and they've got Melbourne and then Sydney. Sydney, we're going to have Brodie Grundy, which will be, I think, a really good matchup for him, because he can towel up on the second ruckman there. And in general has been doing really well against dual ruckman, let alone a single ruck. So that should be really good. But yeah, if we look at that for North Melbourne, it's Melbourne and Sydney in the next couple of weeks. And I have from Melbourne, just Petrarca. And then from Sydney, Brodie Grundy. We will look at potentially getting someone in from Sydney next week. Maybe that's the Errol Goulden sweepstakes move. Or maybe if we just look quickly at Sydney and then look at their last 3 rounds, you'll see even Jake Lloyd starting to really score well. So he could be a cheeky one for the back end of the year. If he's playing at small forward and coming down the wing, he's just getting a lot of marks, cheap marks. Isaac Heaney as well is a guy that you can probably look at in the next couple of weeks. He does score relatively well. So yeah, I think he's a guy that you could potentially look at in the next couple of weeks, or I'll look at in the next couple of weeks. And then you've got guys like Chad Warner. But yeah, just really targeting these matchups of the bottom 3-4 sides, because they're critical in the back end of the year. Like Geelong, this will probably be the Max Holmes week. I'm not even going to lie. That's going to be what we have to do in round 20. If we look at round 20 as well for this stake, it's either going to be Max Holmes or Luke Jackson that you have to bring in. And so, yeah, I will be looking at that one there and thinking about bringing in those guys. Luke Jackson might even come in a little bit earlier than that if we decide to ship off Darcy, but Darcy has a couple of gettable matchups, I would say. And in round 20, he also has a gettable matchup against Essendon anyway, where he could kick a bag. So that's sort of what my main emphasis is. And with the guys coming out, Jai Caldwell, I think he's just a must out, obviously, because he's got 6 to 8 weeks. That pretty much brings him to the end of the season. If I was Essendon, I wouldn't be bringing him back anyway. So I think that's pretty much him cooked for the year. And a guy that we could potentially look at next year, I don't think we will, but a guy that's had 3 games of injuries. If we look at that, 3 games of injuries, he's had 72, 57, 79. That is 81, 131, 181, 188 across 3 games. If we remove that from his 1,140, you get a total of 952 and divide that by 8. He's averaging 119 when he actually plays full minutes. The problem is that that's twice in a row now that he actually hasn't played out seasons like fully. He's had injuries, etc., bit parts of seasons, etc. So that is a concern now, injuries. But Caldwell is a guy that I'll potentially even look at next year to be a real breakout. Well, not a breakout, but a solidifier in the top sort of 15, 20. I mean, he's averaging 14th best for the year, but I think he can take it another step. So he might be a guy that we look at next year alongside Merritt, etc., and those type of guys who have really done well. But yeah, Essendon is a really good fantasy team, not so good actual team. Toby Green plays Geelong. He, I think, struggles against Geelong, if my memory serves me right. He scored 73 against them. If we look at the opposition stats, scores 85 against them. Let's just quickly look at him over the last 2 or 3 years against Geelong. If we go to Green, and I just want to see if what he sort of averages against them without CBAs, because I don't believe he's probably going to get CBAs. If we look at this Geelong game, he had 79% CBAs for a 73. If we look at the likes of Geelong last year, here we go. He scored a 108 on them with 19% CBAs. He ended up kicking 2 goals too. And then the year before that, or earlier in the year, where is he? He scored a 120 against them, so he's actually scored pretty well against them. So that means that, yeah, I'm probably going to stuff this up, knowing me. 62 against them, so 90 in his last 4 games, a 78 here. And then do we have any other stats for him before? Let's just see this one as well here in 81. So he's averaged in his last 6 games against Geelong 87.0 flat. It's all right, but it's not the best. And I have a feeling that this is, if you actually look at them, he scored quite a few goals against them in those games, obviously as a forward. But yeah, I just don't know if he's going to be able to score well against a really, really decent Geelong side. If we just look at it, he's basically propped up by 3 decent scores against them, a 120, a 108, and a 113. And he scored multiple games where he's kicked 4 goals. Like, he's kicked 4 goals here, 4 goals here, and 4 goals here. Like, let me make that a little bit bigger for you guys there. If we just do this and we'll actually just scroll across, you can kind of see it there. The 4 goals, 4 goals, 2 goals. He kicked 4 in this one as well. So yeah, he kind of really depends on his marking to actually get the stats that he needs. Actually, no, it's actually more it looks like the kicks. If he can get the kicks above sort of that 15 range, he scores really well. But if he can't, then he's not really going to score well. I'm pretty sure these 2 games were when he was actually playing in the midfield. So if you take all those out, I'm pretty sure you're going to be looking at him, what's that, 120, 230, 320, 330. So he's probably still averaging 85 or so against them in like 8 or 9 games, dating back to 2016. But yeah, I just don't see him scoring particularly well here. I think he's probably going to score a 75 or 80. So I'm getting Martin, who could go 160 against Richmond if he really wanted to. And a 160 against Richmond would be stupidly good. But I think that could really gap him and the likes of Toby Green. Yep, I used Toby Green at 730 or something K, 733K to get 100 score out of him, to beat Luke Jackson, to beat others like Nick Martin, etc. And now I'm using that upgrade because in that space of time, in that 1 week, he has made effectively 80K through what he's done, as well as on top of that, he got 26 points onto Martin. So 80K and 26 points. Now we use the trade. And it gives me leverage next week as well. If like a Zach Johnson or something goes a 72, which is projected here, alongside Angus Clark going a 74, if they go in mid-70s, there's not going to be much cash generation left for them. And they'll have made another, what was that, about 43K plus another 37K. So that's 80K between them. 80K on top of what they're priced at the moment, which is 487 and 488K. So that is 980, 975K, I think. 488 plus 487, 975K plus the 136K that I've got spare gives me 1,111, and they're projected to make another 80K. That gives me 1,190. If we take away about 280 for a primo, for a rookie, that gives me around about the 911K range to make a maneuver, which probably isn't enough, I would say. So it might actually be a Doherty and like a Boxall this week up to someone, or maybe a Doherty and probably not a Darcy, but something of that magnitude of moving those guys around there to make a maneuver. Next week, maybe even a Doherty and a Caleb Sarong move, something of that regard. But I just don't see me making a maneuver of something else. I could honestly trade Sarong this week because he's probably going to cop a tag from the likes of Hawthorn. But yeah, I see him being a potential guy he's got the round 20 though. So it will be interesting. I hope he doesn't get tagged, but he probably will. But yeah, he's pulled up some absolute stinkers the last couple of weeks. But anyway, now moving on to VC and captaincy. Obviously, we sort of mentioned it with the likes of a Merritt or Martin against Richmond, and then you've got the likes of a Port Adelaide team playing West Coast. You've also got Melbourne playing North Melbourne. There's not much anywhere there. And for Sydney's sake, you've got Marshall in the ruck for Grundy. So if we just look at this and go to the this one here, then we can go last 5, not Supercoach, we need fantasy. And then we go in the ruck department. St Kilda are the best ruck to actually ruck against. Meek went 138, Luke Jackson 109, Sean Darcy 99, Darcy Cameron 128, and Tim English 120. And then you've got in the last 10, I just want to make sure of this. You've got in the last 10, St Kilda plus 9.72. You've got Max Gorn went 107 against them. And then you've got Bailey Williams, 54, doesn't really matter. And then a Luke Jackson, 66 against them. So he's gone 107 and 66. So he's gone minus 30 in the 2 games against them, which isn't the greatest, to be honest with you. That's minus 15. And Sean Darcy has gone 75. What the heck? They're moving the scales or whatever based on, I'm guessing, ruck time or something of that regard. So that's interesting about that. I mean, that was round 8 as well. So I don't know if they necessarily had their formula out with regards to how they were going to structure their rucks. So maybe St Kilda isn't the best ruck matchup in the end. And then you've got also Tristan Cherry is playing against Gawn, who that's going to be a tough matchup. I just have a feeling. If we just go here, Max Gawn, toughest ruck matchup last 10 games. Only 1 player has hit it. And then the last 5, he is the second toughest matchup behind the likes of Brodie Grundy and the Sydney Swans, who has basically negated every single ruck he has come up against. Especially that was a dual ruck there. Single ruck here, even though Darcy did a lot of work, and then another dual ruck here. So the last sort of 3 weeks, he's come up against two dual rucks, out and out dual rucks, and then a pretty decent secondary ruck in Darcy from the Bulldogs. So he's done really well in negating. So do I go with a Brodie Grundy C on the Sunday against St Kilda? Well, might as well. And then we can just go with the Merritt VC, I think. As I think he against Richmond is the biggest sure bet. You've obviously got the likes of a Nick Dacos against Gold Coast. He could do well there, but I have a feeling they put someone to him. Sarong ain't going to touch him. Bontempelli plays Adelaide. I think they put some attention to him there. And then you've got the back line. Wangani Malira going to cop some attention you'd expect. Rosie could do really well against the Eagles. Has done really well in the past. But again, if you look at his actual scores, there's not too many like real outlandish scores. There's a 121, a 122, a 126, and a 145 that would be really good scores. He's just consistently going 108, 109, etc. in that range, sort of that 100 to 120 range, which are decent but not outlandish scores. We really want to look for those. A 137, a 121 here, a 139, a 124, a 134, etc. Those type of scores that you go, wow, he's actually breaking the game in terms of his scoring potential ability. Like, look at this with Bont's highest is a 120 and then a 126, etc. Does Butters have any outlandish games? Nope. Even him, just 1 or 2. So yeah, you really want to hunt for those type of games. A 145 here, a 149 here. Those are the game. A 134, 138. That's why Merritt is going to be my VC. Is because he's got that outlandish game potential in him. So does Martin, but I hope that Merritt outdoes him. 166, 141, 122, 121, etc. So let's just hope that Merritt can outdo him. But that is the video there, going through my AFL Fantasy team reveal for round 18. If you guys did enjoy it, remember to like and subscribe. Turn the notification bell on so you know when I upload it, especially in the coming days, as we're going to have the predictions for round 18 alongside a AFLW content is going to start up, as we believe the game is going to drop in the next couple of days, but we'll see when that does. But I'll have starting up on the weekend some previews or some other content around players and all that, as we did get positions in the last couple of days. So I'll see you guys then. Bye guys.